Hey guys, before we jump into the video, I'd just like to get your opinion on one thing. I've had two people be gracious enough to provide me layouts, but due to time constraints, I haven't been able to use them. So before I, move forward, let's get your guys' opinion. The layout you're going to see right now is provided by the Flying Bird, a member of the NPL, and I want to compare this to another layout that was provided by BillStandish, which you'll see right now. He was, of course, one of our analysts. Let me know which one you guys like better, because I'm really conflicted. I don't know which one I want more. I just know that I like them both very much so, and I appreciate the work, the time it took from either to make the layouts. So let me know down in the comment section which one you like better. I will take that into account, as well as, I'll see which one you guys want me to use, which one you guys think looks nicer, and we'll move forward from there. So without further ado, let's go right into the match. What is up, all you GBA type fans? This is Tom. I'm here bringing you guys my Week 7 match against Emvee and the San Diego Chimchargers. If you have any questions about my team, the things that I brought or why I brought them, please check out my team builder that I uploaded yesterday. So, we look at my team. Obviously, it's the Leftovers Thunderous, bulky, dual dance, a Walkenberry Celesteela with Flame Charge, Leftovers Defensive Vaporeon, a Spadef, mostly Eviolite Porygon 2, a Natural Gift in Ground Azelf, and a Trace Utility Gardevoir. We see his team. We see that he brings Lando, Virizion, Alolan Muck, Empoleon, Cresselia, and Dragonite. A lot of things I expected. Obviously, we don't see Alakazam or Kabutops. We see that he doesn't bring Pelipper, so no Rain, ergo no Kingdra. But having Landorus, which I assume is probably going to be some sort of choice variant just based on the the team structure. Probably D-Dan's Z-move Dragonite, whether it's Devastating Draco or a Supersonic Sky Strike. We don't see Magnezone, so that makes Celesteela's whole purpose kind of moot, which means it's probably going to be like a Landorus switch-in or a Alolan Muck switch-in. Virizion, probably going to be some sort of setup Swords Dance set, because that's, I think, the best Virizion set. Then we see Cresselia and Alolan Muck, which are going to be annoying. Obviously, I have a plan for Alolan Muck. And then we also see Cresselia, of course, Emvee's new acquisition, is also there. So, all things considered, it's not going to be... Oh, and of course, Empoleon, which is probably just going to set up rocks, and so be it. We see his team, has a good mix of bulk, a very good mix of setup, and of course, probably a decent Scarf user. So going into this, I'm kind of considering just what I want to lead with. Obviously, I don't have rocks. Obviously, Azelf can U-turn. But overall, I think to myself, well, if he leads off with Empoleon, I can just go for T-Bolt, and I could attempt to blast the Empoleon. If he leads off with Landorus, I could attempt even HP Ice. So right now, I guess that's what I'll go for. Lead off with Thunderous, leads off with Landorus. Now, the one thing, like I said last week, about the fact that now, this generation, it doesn't show you which mon is faster upon the first turn. It doesn't make sense to me anymore, because that really did help last season, and it kind of just makes any sort of scouting, even just subliminal, just completely useless, like last week when I faced John. So that bothers me. We see it, I draw Thunderous first, so that's going to be a little bit crucial later on. I'm going to go into Celesteela. Obviously, if he knocks off, it doesn't really make a difference. We do make a double here. He goes into Alolan Muck, thinking obviously he's going to be Spadef to take a T-Bolt. Going over knockoff, you're going to see this does a good chunk of damage, so we know he has a fair amount of attack investment, which is not really a shocker. Alolan Muck, the Spadef variant, can run a good chunk of attack just to ensure that I can, get enough kills or just do a good chunk of damage. I'm going to go, and I'm already at +1. I'm going to go for Heavy Slam. Just going to do a good chunk of damage, even to a Scarf Landorus when I'm at -1. See, upwards of about 40-ish%. He's going for U-turn, and I kind of make a dumb play here. I think to myself, well, he can... What is he going to go for? He can't go for knockoff, can't go for Earthquake. You go for Stone Edge? That's stupid. So I'm going to go for HPI, since this is going to do little jack shit to this Empoleon. I could have just went, and should have just went, for another Heavy Slam. Granted, probably still wouldn't have done anything to Empoleon. I didn't necessarily expect him to go out into Empoleon. I kind of thought he would go into Cresselia, because if he did, he could, hit me, or at least maybe start setting up, or something along those lines based on his, his move pool. I go into Thunderous, sets up rocks. Kind of expected that after, you know, last week where that was essentially the case where I didn't get Thunderous in before rocks were set up. I go for Nasty Plot, and I think to myself, well, if he's Spadef, I can take him out. I don't see his item yet because I haven't... he doesn't have an item. But unfortunately, the bulkiness doesn't matter on Thunderous because he just crits and burns me. So the very first time that Thunderous came in, I thought to myself, if I went to Vaporeon there, then what? I don't have anything to touch this Empoleon. So he could Scald, he could Roar, he can do whatever he wants. He can even make a switch, and nothing's going to enjoy taking that damage. We do see he has the Wakan Berry, and he's going to go for a Scald, and this, of course, is in Torrent range, which I thought way after the fact. And because I have leftovers, I'm not going to die to the burn. But Thunderous is now useless. And I kind of played my hand a little bit too strong in the early game. Obviously, I needed Thunderous for things like Cresselia. If his Alolan Muck had some sort of priority, I don't think it... I mean, Thunderous could have did something, but I would have had to get rid of Alolan Muck altogether or do a lot of damage to it in order for Thunderous to actually work. And with Rocks up, obviously I'd be at 25, I'd be at 75% or whatever after my I came in. And without any... I mean, I also had to attempt to get some wishes into Thunderous. So, that's kind of a bummer. He could have also just brought... If I wasn't, you know, jillied up, he could have just brought in Virizion and go for Stone Edge, something along those lines. Doesn't for U-Turn's going to knock me out. Obviously, I can't switch because I would die to Rocks, even if I tried to pass a Wish. Thunderous just kind of blew that real quick. Kind of kicking myself about that. I thought that maybe I could take out the Empoleon, but we see that Emvee is a very good coach and does pack the Wakan Berry, which he has before, which is why I didn't, you know, I thought it was some big shocker. Anyway, go to my defensive Vaporeon here. He's going to go right into Dragonite, and instead of letting him like sub up or D-Dance, I'm just going to roar him out. I know I don't have any hazards up, but I'd rather not see Virizion in my face or Dragonite. I'll get Alolan Muck in and maybe try and get Celesteela back out. Kind of the thought that was going through my mind. Obviously, I'm not going to bring an Azelf. Thunderous is down. Kind of have to do what I can here to get a grasp back on this match because I don't think I'm doing too hot right now. The Rocks here is going to kind of be somewhat of a hamperance in the long run because of the fact that even Celesteela being part Flying type is going to take like 12%, and I don't have any sort of healing. No Leech Seed, obviously. Don't have any leftovers because I wanted this to be a draw for the Magma Zone. And we see here that every time I'm going to bring in Celesteela, he's going to go right into Landorus. And I'm going to keep going for Heavy Slams. If I had gone for... I guess it wouldn't really matter. But he's going to turn out. That Heavy Slam puts, you know, Landorus down pretty low. I think we'll see a little bit later on that maybe if I had gone for just keep clicking Heavy Slam, things would have gone a little better my way. A little bit. Not, you know, super. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to keep going for Heavy Slam. Nothing I have besides Heavy Slam is going to do a lot of damage to this Crest. And I think to myself, he has leftovers, he has a Crest. Let me see if my Gardevoir set actually ends up working. I'm going to switch right out into it, and we're going to see right off the bat that this is kind of what I expected it was going to be, and that's the sub-variant of Cresselia. It seems to be a pretty common set, especially for Emvee. It is, of course, just very, very effective at subbing up, Calm Minding. It's a fat Cancer Duck, and hey, if you're going to, you know, use it as a sub-CM variant, the same way that, you know, a lot of other mons run it, why not? It's bulky enough to take hits. Against my team, without a very strong, you know, Dark type or knockoff user, yes, Shiftry is a Dark type, yes, it has a substantial attack stat, but think about it. Hitmonlee after knockoff, you know, doesn't want to take a Psychic. And then, of course, the Shiftry after it doesn't matter, a strong Gust of Wind knocks down Shiftry. Doesn't want to take a Moonblast from Cresselia, especially a +1. So that's kind of the idea there. We see that my 100 speed Timid does not outspeed him. So that's kind of a problem, because now he's taunted, but he is a +1. So he can probably go for Moonblast. It's also going to mean that my Moonblast is not going to be beating his in terms of damage. You know, after a taunt wears out, he goes for another one. If I taunt him again, he obviously can't heal back up, but he has the passive leftovers, and we're kind of going to be in a tough spot here. He essentially out-prepped what I thought was good prep on my part in order to attempt to beat this this Cresselia. I thought, you know, the 100 speed on Gardevoir, the timid nature would be able to beat out a more defensive, like full defensive Cresselia. So that means he has to be upwards of like a timid nature with more speed investment that I had put in mind. So a little bit of a bummer, you know, kind of so far my prep is just being well undermined by someone who does a fantastic job at preparation and playing and all that. He is just going to pretty much clean me out with a crit, of course. Side shock +1 to my Vaporeon. Why not crit me? And I'm just going to roar him out, kind of get, you know, mitigate that problem. I'm pretty low right here, so I kind of think to myself, I have to go for a wish. I have to go and get this Vaporeon up to a higher bit of HP. So if I switched out right there and gone to anything else, I probably would have taken like a knockoff or something. We do see here that my speed creeping for Alolan Muck, for Empoleon, and probably for also Pelipper did work out in this case. Not in Cresselia's case, but in this case. So that's, you know, kind of good on my part. We see that his taunt is slow. We also know now that he's not AV. So I guess that's kind of a silver lining. My wish is going to get, you know, brought back up. He freely brings in Virizion here on his skull, which shows me that essentially he is Lumberry. You know, it's not, you know, it's not confirmed, but him doing it in such a way just shows that, yeah, well, now it is obviously a set that is not really worried about a burn. Thought to myself here, I can either Scald and get the burn, or I can. The other idea in hindsight could have been, well, if I shot off a wish, right, like right here, if I put up a wish and then switched out on this turn into Celesteela, I could potentially get that thing back up to, you know, roughly full HP. Right? Yeah, it would have been full HP, and I would have then been able to pressure his team at least somewhat offensively. Granted, if he would have just brought in Landorus, I probably could have killed it at that point with another heavy slam. The rest of his team, though, at -1 wouldn't do much damage to, you know, the heavy slam -1, all that deal. But at least I could have brought Celesteela up to a higher HP than what it was at the cost of maybe Vaporeon being at 50%, and I have no Protect, as you guys know. But Azelf is in. We see he brings Alolan Muck in, right like I expected, and the natural gift works. Oh my god. I thought to myself, I can U-turn there, I can Power Punch, but it doesn't matter, because the Ice Punch did a solid 26-30%, and then the natural gift just cleans out the Alolan Muck's HP. So I'm glad that worked. And then we're going to see here that he is going to U-turn, and I know I have enough investment to live this, and I know that I can then get off any damage. No, just kidding! He's going to crit me. Fuck, man. I had the investment in terms of HP to live that. Even a max attack Landorus. Because I calced it for a non-switching out Pursuit on a Muck, as well as a Shadow Sneak, and a U-turn on a Landorus. I would have lived at about 10%, but no, just kidding. He's going to crit me. Feels real good to be critted when I'm already behind. I end up going to Porygon 2. I'm going to trace the multi-scale, so if I recover here, he's going to have a very annoying time breaking this. But I also know that if he does bring in this Landorus, he's going to be at -1. I'm going to think to myself, well, my idea was whenever Dragonite was in, I could just Toxic in case he was just going to go after D-Dance. It would break his multi-scale. I do have enough bulk to live I think, a +1 Devastating Draco. Especially if, you know, on the turn that he attempted D-Dance, I could get back up to full HP. But instead, no, he's going to meme on his own, and in this case, he's going to explode. We see now that, you know, maybe if I didn't kill with the Heavy Slam in terms of Celesteela, he would have just boomed in my face. But if I did knock it out, then Porygon 2 would have, you know, just doesn't matter because it's a bunch of theorying at this point. The bottom line is that without Vaporeon, and even with Vaporeon, Virizion now is at +1. It is only not out. Well, it was outsped by Azelf, but I didn't have any stab to hit it. I had Ice Punch, which I don't think a +1 would have killed it. And we're just going to see that Virizion is probably going to clean up the rest of my team. Kind of the downside of my walls. They are very slow. And unfortunately, you know, anything that's upwards of a base 80 or so, even base 90, outpaces the majority of my walls being Celesteela, Vaporeon, Queen, Porygon 2, yada yada yada. He's never close combat. And now the other reason why I didn't necessarily pass the wish right into Celesteela is because based on my investment and the fact that I am a minus defense nature, is, you know, because that was kind of a downside in his own right. If he had predicted anything and not gone for a Leaf Blade, and he just went for close combat, didn't matter if I passed the wish or not. I would just wasted the wish. He would have knocked out my Celesteela. And of course, Emvee's a good enough player to do such. But at this point, he's just going to knock me out with a Leaf Blade, and Emvee is going to go ahead and win, you know, 3-0. This is not the 5-0 like last season when he beat me with the Smash Pass Gorbis into the Gyarados, because I clicked Protect. But this time, he just beat me because I think he had a very solid core of setup mons. He had, of course, the Scarf Landorus with the explosion. That was cool. The Swords Dance Virizion, probably 3 coverage moves, Dual Stab, probably Stone Edge. And then the Subcalmine Cresselia, which had enough speed, of course, to beat my Gardevoir. Overall, and of course Dragonite, which is a threat all on its own. Overall, he did have a very solid team. I think I did my best to try and beat his team. Mistakes on my part, definitely blowing Thundurus way too early. I could have pressured some things on his team, or at least attempted to keep Cresselia from just Calm Minding outright. The Azelf set worked. That was cool. Not wish passing, or at least giving myself a chance into Celesteela at the cost of, what, 50% on Vaporeon? And besides that, everything else kind of did something, but didn't necessarily help me out in the long run. So we're going to take this loss. And unfortunately, I am reeling kind of at this point after losing 5-0 to John and now 3-0 to Emvee. I need to win next week. If I don't, then I'm pretty much... I think I'm almost out of the playoffs. And I'm saying that because Necrostevo and Crimson are doing fine in my division. They're winning battles that they should, losing battles that, you know, it doesn't really matter. But with me getting blown out by 2 superior coaches, not only that, but I've now lost to John, Emvee, and Callum. So that means the 3 guys in the other division in our conference that are probably going to be in competition for the playoffs now will have the head-to-head matchup against me. So things aren't looking super bright for me at this very second. I'm obviously not out of it. I think I'm out of it at 7 losses or so. 6 losses if my division doesn't crumble. Like if Crimson ends up beating me, or if Necrostevo ends up beating me, then yeah, kind of things are kind of looking real bleak. But I know that once my match with Mono is done, my schedule looks like Geo, Steve, Necro, and Crimson. So those last 2 matches are probably going to be for playoff spots. And I know that I beat them once, I know how they play, and I know that I have a very solid team matchup against both. So, with that in mind, I'm going to go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Anything that you guys want to critique, I know I've critiqued already. But hey, leave your comments. I think I planned relatively well. Just let me know. I'll talk to you guys in the comment section. I'll see you next week for my match against Monotui. And of course, as a little side note, anyone who believed my April Fool's thing, even for a second, in the fan Discord, thank you for playing along. And ha-has and hee-hees all around to you actually falling for it. I'm glad the video I had a very good reception. So, with that in mind, I'm going to go. Have a good day. I'll talk to you guys soon. Later.